for these people who have come out tonight to learn. We know a lot of church members show up on Sunday morning, but to come back out on Sunday night, it says that I want to learn from you. So Father, speak through me. Let the message not fall to the ground. Let it fall on good ground and bring forth much fruit. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, I'm a teacher. Without going into details, I don't want to be here all night. Take your time. But there's 5 folds of ministry. Okay? It's very important that we're exposed to all 5. And the teacher is the least talked about, the least, famous. But the teacher is to the body. The evangelist is to the world. But the teacher is here to edify you and to build you up in your knowledge of the word. Just like a teacher teaches history and science, I teach the Bible. And you send your child to school to learn so they can do something with that. So the teacher's role is to give you edification that you can take and you can utilize in your life as a believer. And tonight, my topic is the biblical principle of leverage. Now, I've never heard this preached before, so that means I haven't preached it either. But that is what somebody here, if it's just one person, that's what somebody here needs tonight. So, I'm going to start with the definition of leverage, and going with, like most words, they have multiple definitions. And the definition that I'm going to use tonight is the noun called leverage, the power to influence a person or situation to achieve a particular outcome. And the verb is to use something to maximum advantage. Now, I'm going to take you where we need to go biblically. Let's first look at Galatians chapter 3, verse 29. Give you a moment. All right. And it says, and if ye be Christ's, then are ye Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. Now the promise kind of leaves it vague, so let's go to Genesis chapter 22. Give you a chance to get there. Start at verse 15. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time and said, by myself I have sworn, saith the Lord. For because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Oh, I get it now. I get it now. Now I know. Okay. I get it now. Now, what we're looking at here, it says, all the nations of the earth should be blessed through thy seed because thou hast obeyed my voice. Let's go to Deuteronomy Let's see here. Let's see, I want to go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. And let's get some more details about this lesson. Okay? Let's get some more details. It says in verse 1, and it shall come to pass, and I know this isn't what this lesson is about tonight, but if, okay, we got to make sure we know that if is there. If thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I commanded thee this day, the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come upon thee and overtake thee. If thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, blessed shalt thou be in the city, blessed shalt thou be in the field, blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, and the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shall thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways. The Lord shall command the blessing upon thee. Now this is the key here. I'm gonna talk about some financial things. Okay? I'm going to talk about some financial things from this blessing and how we're going to apply the biblical principle of leverage. Verse 8, the Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses. That's your bank accounts. That's where you store supplies at home. And in all that thou settest thy hand unto, that's your job. That's your business, your job, your business. That's what you set your hand to. I have an IT business. So I know that if I observe to do all that the Lord has told me to do, that when I put my hands to my business, you understand? And he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. So wherever it is that you live, the country that you live in, wherever you live, the city, the neighborhood, no matter what, it didn't say necessarily that the neighborhood will be blessed, but you will. See, it doesn't matter what's going on in the economy. Where you are, you will be blessed. And see, we walk by faith, not by sight, and that's where we lose it. We see what's going on, and we forget that he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. He put you here or there. If you're visiting from somewhere else, he put you there. So he'll bless you in that land. But as we know, God made us. You know, if you have a BMW, then BMW made the BMW. If you have a refrigerator, then you know who made that. And there's a manual that comes with it. So my job is to break this down in this manual, right? So you can apply what's in here in order to acquire these blessings, right? So let me go to the next point. And I want to I want to establish that he wants you blessed and he wants you successful. 3 John 1:2, please. 3 John 2, to be specific. It says, beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. See, you know he wants your soul to prosper. That's why you go to church. You get fed that real soul food, and your soul prospers. But do you know that he wants everything else to prosper? It says even as thy soul. So you can't neglect this, expect God to bless you in that. And let's go to Joshua 1:8. Give you a moment there. Might have gone too fast the last time. And it says, Joshua 1 verse 8, this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. So I think I've made my point that he wants you to be prosperous. And so I'm going to go into leverage. The biblical principle of leverage that you can pull from the Bible, learn how to use this biblical principle to help attain the prosperity that he wants for you. Let's go to Genesis chapter 25. And we're going to look at the first strong example of leverage in the Bible. Back to the definition of leverage again. The power to influence a person or situation to achieve an outcome. In other words, if I have leverage and I have a goal, I want a promotion, I want a raise. You see, I want an increase in my contract for my business. If I have leverage, it says leverage is the power to influence a person or situation to achieve an outcome. So I need the power to influence my manager. I need power to influence the owner of the company. I need power to influence the president of that client. And it says in Jacob, let's start at verse 29. And Jacob sowed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage. Amplified says that was red and brown lentil bean soup, to be exact. And it said, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, send me this day thy birthright. Now, seemed like a pretty mean thing to do. But Jacob recognized he had leverage. He recognized that his hungry brother had something that he wanted. And he had the power to get it. It said here, the power to influence a person. Who was the person? Esau. Or the situation to achieve an outcome. Jacob wanted that birthright. Now, you could say he went about it the wrong way. Can't argue with that. But it's leverage. I'm showing you in the Bible where leverage was used. He recognized that leverage, and then he said, send this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die. Now, if he could walk to Jacob, he really wasn't at the point to die. But, you know, our children act sometimes they hadn't eaten in 5 hours. That was Esau. That's all that was. Oh, okay. You know, and it says here, and Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Now, example. Genesis chapter 30. Let's start with verse 24. We were close, so I'm going to go quick. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. As we do our research, we find out that was an angel. Okay? And it said, and when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint. So he knocked it out of joint. And it says, it was as he wrestled with him. Now, here's the leverage. And he said, let me go. He's talking to Jacob. Let me go for the daybreak. In other words, he's been wrestling with me all night long. I gotta go. Come on, man. We've been doing this all night. I just knocked your hip out of joint and you still won't let me go. Jacob said, oh, he wants to go. He wants to go. So I have leverage. I have the power because I'm not going to let him go. He wants to go. He can bless me. So let me use my leverage here. Say, I'm not letting you go until you bless me. That is the power to influence a person to achieve a desired outcome. That's leverage. It says here, he said, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. He already knew his name. You know, God does that. Adam, how are you? Really, God? Your eyes are in every place. He knew his name. But he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob. See, he was just asking him for the conversation. He said, no more Jacob, but Israel. This is his blessing. For as a prince, thou hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. So he blessed him there. What did Jacob want? He wanted to bless him. He used his leverage. He wants to go. I'm not letting him go. Bless me. And he got the blessing. Now, teachers have to use examples. You know, you go in the book, you do a math problem, right? You know, the little child in kindergarten, first grade, you know, at our Christian school, that would be K3. They get the 2 plus 2 equals 4. They got to put, well, if Johnny has 2 apples and Susan has 2 apples, and they both give their apples to Jimmy, how many apples does Jimmy have? So as a teacher, guess what? I've got to give examples. In my own life, many years ago, I'm not going to tell you, 23, boy, yeah, something like that, years ago. And I got a job at Wendy's as a teenager. I was 19. I moved out the house, got a job at Wendy's. And I was always taught to work in excellence. It's a part of this lesson. I'm not going to go to the scripture, but Daniel had a spirit of excellence, didn't he? And it got him promotion. It got him advancement. But one thing you have to understand in this world is that people who run your jobs, your businesses that you work for, they're also thinking about leverage. They're not going to give you anything unless you make them. I was 19, got this job at Wendy's, worked there for about a month. I observed the other people working at Wendy's. Some of them were a lot older than me. Some of them were just a little bit older than me. I was probably the youngest one there. And when I was told to clean the bathroom, I cleaned the bathroom, yeah, but not like everybody else. I cleaned the toilets. I cleaned behind the toilets. I cleaned the corners. I cleaned the walls all the way up to the ceiling. I cleaned the mirrors. I cleaned the doors. Where the toilet paper comes out, I cleaned that. I could have dropped my food on that floor and picked it right up and put it in my mouth. When I was told to vacuum the floor, that's how I vacuumed the floor. When I was told to mop the floor, that's how I mopped the floor. If I was told that we needed a certain time frame for the order to be made and the order to be out, if I was working at that drive-thru, I was pushing my fellow employees to get that done. I had a sense of urgency because I understood working in excellence, but I didn't understand language. This is one reason why a lot of women make less than men, and I'm going to get to that. It's very important for you ladies to get this principle, because you can work just as hard or even better, and you watch a man go above you because he understands leverage. So it's very, very important that you get this ladies as well. So my manager came to me after all the excellence that I exhibited. By that point, everybody knew I was the pastor's son, and, those kinds of things. You get the little jokes and all that, but guess what? The manager said, if I had 11 of you, I wouldn't even show up for work. We shouldn't be complacent. And so I was looking to go up. I saw 3 assistant managers ahead of me. But I took the time on that job to learn everything I needed to know about the fast food business. I went to Arby's. I looked at how they dressed. The managers, not the employees. I wasn't applying to be an employee. I was ready to go up. I had leverage at Wendy's. I didn't know I had leverage. I didn't know. I went to Arby's dressed exactly like a manager. Black pants, black shoes, white shirt, black tie. When Joseph went before Pharaoh, he shaved himself and put on new attire. When you go to apply, not the interview, you go looking like the position you want. 19 years old. I walked in there and asked if they were taking applications, and the assistant manager said, are you sure you're not applying for management? I didn't say anything about management. But then I said, I'm always applying for management. And so the manager interviewed me, not her, the main manager. And he was so impressed with my knowledge of how business worked. And he contacted the previous manager, or still current at the time. I had to put in my notice. And she was really disappointed to hear from him. You see, when she heard from him and I put in my notice, she called me. She said, do you not know if you would have told me you were thinking about leaving, I would have made you a manager? Ding! That's what I learned about leverage. That if I wanted to be a manager because of my excellence, all I had to tell her, well, you know what? Arby's is hiring. And I'm thinking about going because they're hiring for management. And she would say, oh, no, come to the back office. Let's talk about this. But I didn't know that. See, you've got to know when you have leverage. See, Jacob recognized when he had leverage. 2 times. You see it in the Bible. And he affected the outcome that he was looking for. You know, I don't even believe in anything racial. I believe we're all equal. But statistically, just based on I'm black, right? I grew up black. I'm mostly around black people my whole life. Matter of fact, Johnston YMCA down the road when I was a kid, I used to play there in the leagues and baseball and all that kind of stuff, hang out Tryon Hills down Graham Street, not far from here. Very familiar with this area because the church was down on the corner, Craig and no Tryon. And one thing I know from being around us, we don't know about leverage. We don't get it. And this is what teachers are for. We got to bring stuff out. So, as I was working there at the Arby's as assistant manager, I was providing such excellent service. The store manager from Subway managed 3 stores. He said it was too much for him. Just for me taking his order with a smile, with a great attitude, with my uniform in perfect condition. Iron, not wrinkled. See, people start taking their jobs for granted. And, oh, by the way, I was making more than I was supposed to at that Arby's. My manager at that Arby's said, I'm going to pay you this because I believe that you are going to be the most valuable person we have. You can't tell anybody what you make. Because I have a problem. Because I don't want to lose you. I was still learning leverage. But when that manager came to my line and I served him, he offered me the full store management position of an entire Subway. I was 20. I was in school at Central Piedmont Community College, paying my own way. Came in there, store manager. So I understood the principle of walking in excellence, and around that time, the leverage thing kicked in, and I got it. So not long after that, after marrying my wife, 1997, so we've been married for 19 years. 2 months into our marriage, we conceived. So my first child was on the way, Johms Jr. And I decided that I had a full-time position. I was using that position to gain leverage to get much higher paying positions down the road. I took a lower position in payment, but the title was IT manager over the whole company. Now, I could have taken even a lower title somewhere else and got a lot more, almost double. But I wanted to go beyond that. See, this is how you got to think. I knew that if I took the higher paying position, going up from that will be at a lower level. But if I took the lower paying but higher title position on my resume, when I go for the big title job and I have that great reference, I can go and be IT manager at a whole other company making more than 3 times what I'm making now. That's how I was thinking, right? But I said, I need to get some extra money because I don't really know about having children. This is my first one coming. I don't know what it's going to cost me. So I went and got a part-time job at Sam's Club. Now, in Genesis chapter, let's see where I want to go. chapter 41. Before I go into that, Genesis chapter 41, verse 14. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh in the right way. He said, it is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. So Pharaoh proceeded to tell Joseph his dream. And he interpreted it as the word of God came to him, that there would be 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine in the land. Here's key. Here is so key here. Matter of fact, I'm going to, let's see. It's so key here. When he gave him that interpretation, let me go pull something up here. That's when he realized that he had leverage. Watch what he says. Let's see, Genesis. All right. Watch what he says. Let's skip down to verse 25. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. God has showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And then the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall rise after them 7 years of famine. Okay, let's skip down to verse 33. So he's impressed Pharaoh. He's looking at Pharaoh. Pharaoh is in awe at this point. Can you imagine that? Pharaoh's just like, who is this Hebrew? Who is this? He came out of nowhere. The butler told me about him. I kind of didn't believe it, but wow. Joseph is recognizing that he has leverage. Watch what he says. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise. Now who do you think he was going to pick? Joseph knew he was going to pick him. He wasn't saying that for him to go pick somebody else. He recognized he had leverage to get in a position that he desired. Pay attention. Pharaoh was the boss. Think about that. Pharaoh was the boss. Who's the boss where you work? Who runs the company? Okay? He said, let Pharaoh do this and let him appoint officers over the land. He's describing his position. This is the position I want, Pharaoh. Here's what I want. I want you to put me in a position to appoint officers over the land. See? And then he describes, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years, and let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. So he's continuing to impress him. And he's laying out his whole position. These are my duties. This is my position I want. These are my duties. And it says, in verse 37, and the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this? Who is this? We can't find anybody like this. Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house. Look, pay attention. He just described his position to Pharaoh when he had the leverage, and Pharaoh then thought it was his idea, but it wasn't his idea. Joseph just gave it to him. And he said, I'm going to put you over my house, and according to thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. Just imagine, you gotta imagine yourself. See, this, look, God didn't put this in here for you to think about Joseph. He put this in here for you to think about yourself. This is an example. Like in the math book. This is an example so you can understand how you apply it to your life. And it says, and he arrayed him in vestures of fine linen. I said, that don't really do anything for me, but I know you ladies, y'all love being invested in fine linen. So you got to imagine yourself. Just imagine yourself. And he put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the Rolls Royce. It says the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him, bow the knee. And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh. And without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. So he put him in the exact position that he told Pharaoh he wanted. So I was at this Sam's Club. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do this part-time. Knowing leverage at this point, I had mastered it already. I had taken my experience at Wendy's, Arby's, and Subway. And all my job experiences and my business experiences at this point, and I had mastered leverage. Can't tell you all those stories, it'll be here all night. First day of orientation. Sam's Club is only one day of orientation. So first day is orientation. Here's what I learned. Get in there and learn what is the most valuable thing to that company and become extremely far beyond in performance of everyone else at that thing. And you will create leverage on your job. So in the orientation, I understood I've got to learn what's the most important thing, because Tom, the manager, is the one that I have to build leverage with. And the most important thing at Sam's Club was memberships. You go into Sam's Club, you see all these products. You have services. They change your tire, all this stuff they do. But the most important thing is selling memberships. It's a wholesale club, which means the markup is low. So they're not making a lot of money on the products, they're just breaking even. Where do they make their money? It's memberships. I was hired as a cashier. You know, when you walk in the door, if you say, I want a membership, they sing you to the membership desk. Do you think I let that stop me from selling memberships? I realized that memberships is most important. So as a cashier, I'm ringing. 22 years old. People are coming through the door. The only people I got to see who were coming looking for a membership, possibly, were people who had a coupon that they clipped out the newspaper that said, here's a free visit to Sam's Club. Everybody that came looking for a membership went to the membership desk. But you know, back then, they were paying $6 an hour. That's what all the cashiers made. This is 1998. $6 an hour. Wasn't an obstacle for me because I understood leverage. I began to sell memberships. You know, most cashiers would just take the coupon, beep, ring it up. not say a word about the membership. I'll say, oh, I see you have a coupon for a membership to Sam's Club. How do you like it? Well, I'm not so sure. And then I would proceed to sell them on why they needed a Sam's Club membership. Yes. You know what most cashiers said? When they saw what I was doing, they don't pay me enough to do all that. Every single one of them was a black female. Every single one of them. This is why you need to listen. Anytime somebody, their membership was about to expire, when I scanned the card, I ring up the date, I would sell them on renewal. They might have been, well, I'm going to renew it next month. Well, you know, if you forget, you come back, then you're going to have to go through the membership desk and all that kind of stuff. I remember that. I'm not going to say her name. Right? She would be right next to me. You stupid. In the first full month, listen now, this was my part-time job. I worked Fridays 6 to 10, Saturdays 8 to 6, Sundays 1 to 6. I had to go to church both morning and night. You see, you can't neglect this. What I said earlier, you don't neglect this and expect God to bless you in that. So you see, he's the one that teaches you to prosper. He's your source. So you got to put him first. Remember, we're not operating in these principles as unbelievers. If anybody need to be saved, we can handle that. But we're not operating in these principles as unbelievers. We're operating in these principles as believers. That means the promises of God we have, they don't have. And there are requirements for those promises. So you can lose it when you're thinking like the world. So if you want God to help you with this leverage, if you want his help in it, you got to do it his way. Part-time only on the weekends. After the first month, all the membership sales were tabulated. I had done 25% of Sam's Club memberships for the whole month, working part-time on the weekends. I outsold anybody who worked at the membership desk because I was creating leverage. In the second month, see, I learned this from orientation. You can't get promoted, you can't even get evaluated until you've been at the company 3 months. In the second month, I wasn't planning on leaving. But you know, there's a man that's a president-elect, his name is Donald Trump. I didn't read his book, but I learned something that he teaches. When you go into negotiation, the other party has to know that you're ready to walk. I went to Tom and said, Tom, I'm thinking about leaving. I think it might be time for me to go. Tom said, oh no. Can you come into my office, please? Let's talk about this. Second, do you know you're doing 25% of the club memberships by yourself? I said, oh, it's okay to act surprised. I didn't say no. And when I say think about leaving, yes, I'll think about leaving if you don't promote me, because guess what? I could walk right out that door. When I walk, I'm going to tell you something. When I walk into a temp agency in 1997, after I got married, I was in transition. I quit working one job because they were ripping people off. I just quit. They told me, I said, I can't participate in this anymore. They said, well, if you don't put in a notice, then you can't work for the company anymore. I said, that's not a problem. So I quit that job and went to a temp agency. When I walked in the door, they said, we know where you're going to put you. I didn't even say my name. I didn't say hello yet. I hadn't even got to the desk because I was dressed like this. So they put me in the highest paying position they had on the trading floor at First Union, working with the highest paid people that worked in the whole bank. Because they needed somebody who looked like this in there. See, when you go apply, again, when you ask for the application, that is your first impression. You see, if I had gone in like most people I saw going into that Arby's, going into that temp agency, going into that Sam's Club in a wrinkled t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops, they thinking, well, I'm just asking for the application. Well, guess what? You've already made your first impression. And I don't care if you come back dressed in a three-piece suit. You still the dude that came in there with the wrinkled t-shirt, the shorts, and the flip-flops. So you start building leverage when you walk in the door the first time. I say, oh, who is this? So Tom said, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for you. He said, by corporate rules, I cannot give you a promotion. By corporate rules, I can't even evaluate you for a promotion. But I cannot let you go. He said, so if you will do this, accept this, you resign, I will rehire you at a new position that doesn't exist in the whole company. That way I can bypass all the rules, create you a new position, and give you manager pay. I ain't even been there 2 months. Not even 2 months. But day one, I learned in the orientation what I had to do to get my leverage. And I didn't waste any time using it. There's a particular lady dear to me who would talk about, oh, I feel like I should do this. I feel like I should be getting paid this on my job. And every time I say, well, do you feel like you have built up the reputation and you got the work that, work in and you've worked in excellence? And she feels like she has, but she's underappreciated. But she will not use any leverage at all. And this is why I talk about women. She's afraid they're going to say no. She don't want to hear no. Men, we have this thing called testosterone that y'all don't have as much of. So we get, I need a raise. So-and-so, they hire me. I know you need me. They paying this much over here. So I need you to do something. Might not even know how to say it right, but see, men have that testosterone. Y'all ladies gotta get the boldness of the Holy Ghost. You might need to fast and pray before you go into that office, because you gotta say what you need to say. And you can't be a timid woman of God. See, of God, is God timid? Is he weak? Would he be afraid to say, this is what I need? Then you walk out. You walk that out. And so he hired me at management pay. So I resigned, I quit, signed the paper, I quit. I had to write it out. He rehired me in the office the same time, called a meeting of all the cashiers and said, this is your new manager. Oh, you know. I've been here 8 months and ain't even got a raise yet. That's just, I wouldn't do all that. They don't pay me enough for all that. That's the attitude that they have. You can't build leverage like that. So I worked there until I had enough where I felt I was comfortable. That manager let me go when I told him that, I got this job to get extra funds for my son. He's coming. I feel like I have enough now. I'm ready to go. Sales were very, very high because I would come in on weeknights, just a little bit, just to motivate and get those other cashiers doing what I was doing. Turns out, though, the moment I left, sales dropped. So my mom and I were shopping in the Sam's Club. It was over a month later. I guess that was enough time for the statistics to roll back around. And I'm walking, and I remember so vividly pushing the cart. My mom is right next to me, and this manager comes running. No exaggeration. You would tell a child, don't run in the store. Tom was running across the store. He didn't want me to get away. He didn't even notice my mom right there. Hey.
Oh, ma'am, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Your son is the best employee I've ever had. And I really need him to come back. He had to give me 20% more than what I was making before for me to come back. And he did. And within a matter of months, the sales were so high, he was promoted.
And he left. That's right. He was promoted and he left because of how those sales were going. When the next manager came in, I didn't stay much longer, maybe like 3 months after that. She was like, who is this man making this money? How are you getting paid that much? She didn't understand till 1 month. Just 1 month and you'll understand. So when the statistics came out, she said, you know what? You go right on ahead and do what you're doing.
You just keep doing what you're doing. And then I left. But that was leverage, ladies and gentlemen. Leverage, brothers and sisters. Later, I was working on an IT contract at the IRS.
We had a 3-month contract. It was myself, 2 other guys from North Carolina. We were at the IRS. The job was analyzing server data. Somebody on the team would run a script on the server, the data would come out, we would analyze it, create reports, make sure there were no errors in the system. And day 1 of orientation, what did you think I did? I found out what's the most important thing on this project. So I wrote programs that would take keystrokes that were repetitive, and I would just push like 3 buttons at the same time. Control, Alt, F2. And then like a whole line would just type out in like a split second, right? And so I memorized everything. The other guys, they would look at the chart. I went the extra mile and memorized the chart. Took the time. So I was putting out 6 times the work as everybody else on the team. Okay? Now, if you know anything about government, they don't do well when it comes to estimating how much projects cost or how long they're going to take. After looking at that project, myself and the 2 other guys, we came back to our apartment. We got an apartment just a couple miles away in Alexandria, Virginia. And came back to the apartment. I said, you know what, when this 3 months is up, guys, I'm not coming back. I said, and then they're going to call me and ask me to come back and pay me more to come back. They said, you crazy. This is a year after Sam's Club. I had this down pat. It was automatic. You're going to turn down $35 an hour and take a risk of losing that? I say, watch and see. That contract was up September 30th. September 30th. October 1st, I was at home. The recruiter who put me on that project, he called me. He said, Johms, I heard you weren't there today. What's wrong? Are you sick? What's going on? I said, oh, Kevin, I don't have a contract. I said, you know, I signed the contract for 3 months. I told my wife I'm going to be gone 3 months. Now, I'm not going to tell my wife I'm going to be gone for 3 months, and 3 months go by, and I'm miles and hundreds of miles away working still. He said, oh, yeah, I understand. No problem. I'll let them know. And if they need somebody else, we'll put somebody else in that position. See, he didn't understand. If they had 4 reports that needed to be done in an hour, there were 5 members on the team. I got all of them. They needed to be done in excellence. They needed to be done right, and they needed to be done on time. If there was a really, really, really big report, Gerald, another guy from North Carolina, he would get one because he was very accurate. So anytime there was crunch time and they needed people working extra hours, guess who was getting 60 hours and 35 an hour? Me. 60 hours. And I stayed home. As soon as it was up, I could have continued to work on that same pay rate, but I stayed home. So then Kevin called me back just a few minutes later. Johns, look, can you come to the office? We gotta talk. We gotta talk. So I said, no problem, Kevin. Go to the office. Kevin said, they told me I have to do whatever I have to do to get you back up there. So what do I have to do? I said, well, you got to do something that's going to convince me, and then something else that's going to convince my wife to let me go back. So he asked me to step out of the office. He offered $40 an hour pay plus a $400 check to my wife to let me go back. She said, sure. Right? And so I said, but guess what? I'm only signing a contract for 3 months. I'm trying to teach you here. It's not to brag. I'm giving you examples. So I go back 3 months. It ends December 31st. Go back home. January 2nd, I don't show up. Kevin called me. John, just come to the office. He knew the deal. Didn't ask questions. He knew he was going to have to pay. Go to the office. Had a check for $1,000 from my wife. And said, I'm giving you all the money I have on your account, $45 an hour. I'm not making a dime off of you, but I got to get you back there where you take it. So I went back there. Project was over in 2 months. Leverage. You recognize, you gotta build it. You gotta recognize it. And you have to take advantage of it. You don't let it get away. You gotta be careful. Don't think you go in there and do this and build any leverage. If Jacob had let the angel go, he wouldn't have got the blessing. If Joseph had said, oh, sure, you can have it. Yeah, here go the lentil soup, you can have it. He wouldn't have got the birthright. If he had gone before Pharaoh and said, you know, you want to appoint a man over the whole kingdom, he wouldn't have been riding the Rolls Royce. You understand where I'm coming from? When you recognize it, you got to take it. And let's wrap this up. Final example that I want to give you is in Daniel. And this is not so much about leverage. This is about how I want to put this. It's just about excellence. Because you're not going to build that leverage without that excellence. And it says here in Daniel chapter 2, let's go with verse 1. And I'm going to actually change what I'm reading from to a different Bible here. It says, in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. The king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Now he went on to say, bring me all these sorcerers and magicians, and I want y'all to tell me my dream and the interpretation. He couldn't, who could do that? So they were all upset. They said, it's a rare thing. Only the gods can do that. Let's go to verse 13. So he was all upset because nobody knew. And Nebuchadnezzar sent out a decree. It says, and the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. You see, Daniel, Mishael, Hananiah, and Azariah, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were put in with the wise men. Take your own time, read chapter 1. They were put in the wise men. And it says, Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was going forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Daniel was putting himself in a position now. He got the king's ear. The king said, okay, well, who is bold enough to ask this question? So Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time and that he would show the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercy of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. You may need to get your prayer partners together so you can find out how you need to walk in excellence. You may need a download. You may need the Holy Spirit to give you wisdom, to give you knowledge, to guide you into what you need to do. And that's what Daniel did. And if we go down to verse 26. And the king answered to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation thereof? Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, the secret which the king hath demanded cannot wise men, astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show the king. See, some things, on some jobs, you may not really be able to figure out how to create leverage, but God wants you to create. So, the people around you may not know how to do it, but God knows how to do it. See, this is, I'm just breaking this down here. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth the secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. And so he continued, and he gave the prophecy. The prophecy from the dream. And as we go down, let's see, to verse 46. Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell down upon his face and worshiped Daniel, and commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. Then the king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is that your God is a God of gods and the Lord of kings and a revealer of secrets. Seeing thou couldst reveal this secret, then the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many great gifts and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. This is my last story. My son is 18 years old. When he was 17, he was working at the Bank of America Stadium where the Panthers play. He was selling concessions. You know, the ones that go up and down and sell the, Mountain Dew, whatever they sell. He worked so hard his first week that he outsold everybody else. The second week, the lady in charge made him manager over everybody who was selling what he was selling because she wanted them to sell him. That's the second week. Okay? After a few games, she put him over all the concessions in the whole stadium. He was 17. He had people my age taking orders from him. They were upset. Some of them didn't like it. He would tell me that some of them go to the manager over him and say, why am I taking orders from this kid half my age? I say, you want a job? You better do what he said. He's the boss. Before the end of the season, he was in Jerry Richardson's box working. So I told him, son, you have doubled the sales of that whole organization. Double. When the season starts this year, do not let your leverage slip away. Say, you can't sign a contract at 17, but you'll be 18. So before you turn 18, let me and you sit down with the head of the company. What's her name? You remember her name? April. Let's sit down with April. And let's take advantage of your leverage. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in there. We're going to take a percentage of everything sold. If you increase the sales by 100%, they'll give you 10%. I said, and you get a base salary. You know what? Our children are not always like us. Sometimes they don't do what we tell them to do. Sometimes they don't emulate us. To my disappointment, he went right back, never called a meeting with April. And someone else stepped in their management position. And they put him in the wrong place. So he lost his leverage. He was very upset because he expected to go right back into Jerry Richardson's box. Right where he was. I said, son, guess what? If you had done what I said, you would have been there. You would have been in charge of everything. At 18. So April said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take you, I'm going to put you in charge of all the concessions at Wake Forest University for the whole football season. Just turned 18 in August. August this year. But he's a full-time Bible school student. Graduated from high school last year. He's attending Bible college. It wasn't feasible. So he turned that down. Just too far away. And so he got a job working at a burger place. I'm not going to say the name. He worked there for 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, he had learned his lesson. And he built his leverage. In the 4th week, he told the manager, well, I'm thinking about leaving. You see, I've been teaching him about leverage from the time he was 12 years old. But he realized I let that one get away. This time, I'm not. He got that leverage because on Wednesdays, traffic was slow. He said, 50-cent wings on Wednesdays. Promoted. They sold out of wings. He told me $4,000 in one day. He gave them another promotion on shakes. He boosted sales like crazy. But one thing you have to understand is your manager is not going to pay you anything more for what you do because their bottom line is the bottom line. At the bottom of an spreadsheet, there's a line called net profit. If you will work as that waiter that was for $3 an hour plus tips, and you giving them ideas that's making them thousands of dollars, they're going to keep taking your ideas and keep paying you $3 an hour plus tips. He called me. He said, Dad, I did what you taught me and it worked. He said, I told him I was thinking about leaving. They made me a manager. Paid me $15.50 an hour. He years old. 18. You know, statistically, that's more than the average adult male makes in America. Plus tips. And he's the manager over all the waiters and waitresses. So, he worked there for longer. And I told him, I said, son, once you get in that management position, don't give him any more ideas. Get that management position down pat, learn it. And then once you have that, then start building more leverage. 2 days into being a manager, he had to go through training before he could get that $15.50 an hour. 2 days. He was being head over the whole store because that was like 2.5 weeks later. He had to go through the training. The manager said, "You know what? You show up, I don't have to be there." He was in the whole place, in charge of not only the waiters. The management position was called the waiter manager because it didn't exist in the company before. He was working there long enough to get the promotion. Same story. He was running the whole place. There's a candle retailer. And that candle retailer, whoever was in charge, I think it was the actual owner of the company, matter of fact, they came to the burger joint. He provided them such excellent service, they were extremely impressed. And when they went to pray, see, some of y'all won't do this, he prayed with them. Wait a minute. See, we operate on leverage, not as unbelievers, but as believers. He was bold enough to pray with them. And he started praying in the Holy Ghost in front of the owner. He didn't know that was the owner of a retail store. Not just a store, a chain. And they were so impressed with his service, they offered him to come and be a manager of one of their stores. They said, son, how much you make here? He was only working there 2 days, $15.50 an hour plus tips. He said $15.50. They said, would you like to make $21.50? What if he didn't pray in the Holy Ghost in front of their face? Because guess what? That's what impressed them the most. They said, oh, we Christians, we need people like you running our stores. You know, they assumed he was like 25. Didn't find out to the interview he was 18. So, guess what that created? Went back to the manager of the burger joint. So guess what? I just got offered a position making $21.50 an hour. I'm not gonna say the name, at this candle place. They said, oh no, we can't let you go. That manager called a regional manager. They came in, they had a meeting. They said, look, we'll give you $15.50 an hour, plus we'll give you 25% of your promotions, 50% of your events, and a $100 a week bonus. And here's a $100 bill for having this meeting. That's God honoring those who honored him. And leverage. So now he goes over there. I said, son, you know you got leverage again. I said, you got to make sure you tell them about that deal when you go to that interview. Went to the interview earlier this week, last week. Told him about the deal. That guy says, oh, well, tell you what? You produce such and such, we get you to $30 an hour within 3 months. I said, son, take that one. Leverage. He knew they wanted him bad. Then they asked him, well, he said, well, you may want to talk it over with your wife. He's 18. And he said, I don't have a wife. I'm 18. He was like, what? See, if your children get this, they can explode in the workplace. The workplace is a marketplace, but you gotta understand how the business people think. If my son would have kept taking the $3 an hour plus tips, he would still be there taking $3 an hour plus tips. No matter how many thousands of dollars more he calls sales to come to that place. So to wrap it up, I just want to end this with a prayer. And I don't know if anything else that you want to do after that. But I want to pray that you absorb this, that the Holy Spirit brings this back to your remembrance, that you learn from this, that you use this, and that God blesses you in the marketplace. Because you've taken the examples from the Word and you applied the biblical principle of leverage. So let's pray.